So let's get into it and talk about the plant paradox for people who work out. Yes, bodybuilders and elite athletes, but also people who walk a long way to get to work or people who love to dance. Basically, anyone who exercises can benefit from the stuff I'm about to share, starting with the biggest fitness myth of all time. You need tons of protein if you work out, especially if you want to build lots of muscles. It's the reason you see bodybuilders guzzling protein shakes and the excuse they use to eat a huge steak and dozens of eggs every day. So, it's easy to believe that you need to eat tons of protein to be an athlete. Well, the truth is your body needs some protein for sure. It's an essential nutrient after all. But whether you're a hardcore athlete or a regular Joe, you're probably eating too much protein, especially if that protein is coming from animals. The truth is you can get all the protein you need from plants, even if you want to build big, strong muscles. In fact, some of the strongest animals alive, like horses and elephants, are completely vegetarian. And if you've ever watched a horse run, I think you'll agree they're certainly athletes. So no matter what your fitness goals look like, you don't need to chow down on a steak to reach them. And you don't need a giant whey protein smoothie or one made with healthier pea, oat, or brown rice protein. The truth is, those are loaded with lectins. No, all you need is a healthy, balanced diet where vegetables come first, and stuff like meat is just a garnish rather than the main event. Sounds a little like the plant paradox plan, right? Well, that's because the plant paradox plan is the perfect diet for athletes because it's a great way to make sure you're eating enough vegetables. And veggies are essential for building strong muscles. So, throw out that big tub of basic protein powder and focus on fueling your body with protein-rich, plant-based whole foods like avocados, nuts, and greens. If you must drink a protein drink, look for a powder that's the plant paradox compliant.
Just the same as it takes time to properly lose weight and lose, say, body fat in a healthy way, it also takes a lot of time to gain muscle. I decided to do a bulking journey because I've spent the last, I don't know, most of my adult life striving to lose weight. I think a lot of women can relate to that. There's just never seemed to be a finish line on that journey. When I did my bodybuilding competition, I thought for sure when I hit that stage lean level that I would be like, I've done it. I've accomplished the amount of leanness that I've always sought. But that didn't happen. So you can check out my other videos about that kind of struggle that I went through. And so I decided that I really wanted to change gears, change up my training goals, my diet goals, and actually purposefully gain some weight. Because in order to gain muscle, we do need to gain weight. And I know for a lot of women, we struggle with gaining weight. I myself, of course, have also struggled with body image issues, with disordered eating issues, all kinds of things throughout my teen years, my young adult life. And so I really wanted to overcome that, confront it head on, and really focus on being a strong and healthy human over being skinnier human. In September of last year, I started slowly on my bulking journey, which meant the first thing I did was I decreased the amount of cardiovascular exercise that I was doing. It was the end of summer, so that was kind of easy to do. It was getting colder out, and I stopped focusing on doing cardio at the gym and just focused mostly on strength training, bodybuilding, and focusing on the amount that I was lifting and working on a progressive overload. So what that means is that you're always tracking what you're doing at the gym so that you can adjust your weights in your rep series to continually challenge yourself over a period of time. If you're always lifting the same amount and doing the same reps over and over and over, your body's gonna adapt to that, and then it's not going to change, aka it's not gonna develop new muscle. So I was tracking what I was lifting at the gym. I was slowly implementing more weight or more reps over time. And then I also started slowly adding more calories to my overall caloric intake per day. And I changed my macros a bit. So macros being your carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. When I was doing a lot of bodybuilding or when I was doing my competition, I had drastically reduced fats and carbohydrates. And I just don't want to eat like that. I wanted something that was long-term sustainable where I could enjoy life and feel good. And so I increased my carbs and my fats and my protein. And, from September until November, I was just kind of being a lot more relaxed about my diet and just really focusing on my strength at the gym. In November, I joined a CrossFit gym. And I hadn't done CrossFit for many years. I kind of dabbled here and there throughout my life, but I've never really committed to more than, say, 4 or 5 months. So I started that in November. I went through the beginning classes just like everybody else because it had been a while since I'd done any of those types of workouts, and it is a very technical style of training. It's very intense, so it's really important that you're doing things correctly with good form. I'm really focused on getting back to eating a lot more whole foods, clean foods, real live foods, and by that I mean the kinds of foods you see on the outside of a grocery store when you're grocery shopping, rather than eating a lot of convenience foods, microwavable foods, prepackaged foods, which are the kinds of foods I was eating for a few months there because I just did not want to put the energy, effort, or thought into what I was eating. Pulling back from that and realizing that I felt like absolute shit. It felt terrible. So right now I'm challenging myself just to eat cleaner, whole foods, live foods. When I go to get a snack when I'm at work, I make sure that I pick up an apple, a cucumber. I'm not big on meal prepping, so because I hate cooking and I can come home for lunch. So I'm really needing to put more effort into at least purchasing easy to make food that's still nutritious. I have seen a lot of progress though since about January when I really started focusing on my diet again. My training, I've been consistent about 4 to 5 days a week. I've also been really focused on having some more fun fitness goals. I'm practicing doing handstands. A goal is to do a walking handstand at some point in my life. I want to eventually achieve a muscle up. If you are in CrossFit or watch things about CrossFit, then you know what a muscle up is. I really love all the gymnastics side of CrossFit. And I also entered an online competition that I will post more about later. But basically it's for my own personal transformation. I'm giving myself a lot of time. I put an entry in January of this year, and I don't have to submit my final results until June. So that gives me lots and lots of time to achieve the goals that I have now.
Before we talk about genetics, we need to talk about the obvious stuff that I think sometimes people push to the side, and they like to say it's all about genetics. But let's talk about the other
excuses.
Yeah, let's talk about the other factors first. Okay, is the person working out and training in the most appropriate and effective way possible for their body? That's two things there. First, is it an effective workout? And two, is it the most effective workout for their body? Is that person eating a diet that is the most effective for building muscle and appropriate for the body? That's also very, very important. Is the person have a lifestyle that is conducive to building muscle, especially for their body? You got to look at all those those things first before you go on to genetics. As I would have, I knew this growing up, working out. There'd be people around me who'd be building muscle and faster than me, and I think to myself, oh, it must be genetics or it must be steroids.
One or the other.
Yeah, now that I'm older, looking back, I can see like, oh, that person ate much better than I did, or I didn't prioritize sleep and they did, or I overtrained like crazy and they just focused on the big compound lifts.
It kind of reminds me of like the argument that we're making about the fighting thing, the size and the skill thing, right? Like with a fighter, if you have incredible skills, if you really know the tools that it takes to build muscle, you can compete even with somebody who has great genetics. I really feel that way. I think the genetics thing is just a quick excuse that we make because somebody else is responding and we're doing the same thing. So there's those outliers, which everybody has that friend or girlfriend that they know that gets away with eating crappy food, barely touches any weight, and their body looks great. That's such a small percentage of the people.
Great point, because when you look at genetics as a whole with humans, the vast majority of us are somewhere in the middle. Very few of us are on the edges. So it's like a bell curve, right? On the edges, very, very few people. As you get close to the middle, there's a larger amount of people that fit somewhere in the middle. So here's the reality. Truth is, if you look around, most people around you have genetics that are kind of like yours. Most people are somewhere in the middle. It's rare to have these crazy superior muscle building genetics. And trust me, when you meet someone that has these type of genetics, you know, it's not a question. It's not like, hey, he gained 5 more pounds than me. It's more like, wow, he's 270 pounds of muscle, you know, and the guy works out twice.
Not to mention, what's the history there? Like, how long have they been in the game? Like, I know a lot of times, like, people have started, you know, when they're like 12 or 13, and like they've built, you know, their body responds because they've built all this in like over decades. And, you know, like for them to see them, they see them just responding, you know, way later in the game, and they don't realize like, yeah, this has been a whole history in the making. It's not just like right now.
Well, the truth is, you know, building muscle is hard. It takes consistency. It takes proper nutrition. It takes proper exercise. And the fact is, a majority of people don't have all 3 of those lined up. Most people half-ass their diet. They're not getting all the nutrients they need. And they're asking their body to respond. Most people don't do a very good job with their programming. They gravitate towards a type of modality they enjoy. And as we talk on the show all the time, that's important for consistency. But when trying to build muscle, if you're still doing the Jane Fonda tape at home, you know, and you're wondering why your body's not building more muscle, you're pretty adapted to that. Or you're going to your favorite, you know, Orange Theory F45 class, and you've seen good results in the first 3 to 6 months, but you're not building any more muscle. Well, you're adapted to that way of training. So I think it's more of not all of those things aligning.